I just wanted to close out today to talk a little bit about what I've been doing with Major League Hacking and open it up to a discussion with the people that I'm building it for, you guys. So if you haven't heard of Major League Hacking, it's an organization I started back in August. The idea was, through my experiences as a student hacker, as a developer evangelist, as a founder at Hacker League, and going to all these hackathons, I found that student hackathons in particular were like this cauldron where like innovation and awesome was happening. Student hackathons changed my life, and I told that story this morning when we kicked off. And I wanted to build something really special to help take advantage of the good things that were going on and help even further the good stuff and make it even better. So a quick recap of our first season, which we launched back in September. Initially there was the fall season, which was comprised of 5 events. Through those 5 events, which were PennApps, MHacks, HackMIT, HackNY, and HackRU, we saw 110 universities through the fall season. And then we also ran a postseason with 3 events that brought us up to 150 different universities. Across those 150 different universities, I saw 4,000 hackers, which is incredible, at 8 events. Like, that is an insane growth. But an even more surprising statistic is in the last 2 events, which kicked off the spring season, I've seen more than half of that already. So this season is going to be even more crazy. So the first season was awesome. The University of Maryland walked away with a trophy. I never published the pictures from the ceremony, and I'm going to do that because it's awesome. But basically, I had the pleasure of going down to the University of Maryland and doing a ceremony where I presented the MLH trophy to the student hackers who earned it. They had the administration come out, and the students, some of the winners, demoed their hacks, which was great. And I hope to do that again in the future. So then we are in the postseason. The main season was awesome. It went off without a hitch. I had an opportunity to do another kind of follow-up season in November with 3 events. I tested some new things then based on the things I'd learned during the spring season. All of the events in the postseason were just as awesome as the ones in the fall season, I think, but we ran into some problems. I still haven't actually published a winner for the postseason, which I intend to do at some point in the coming, when I get a little bit of time and I'm not organizing a conference. But the lesson I learned there, and the reason that we didn't publish the stats, was that I was trying too hard to find ways to attribute value where it was not necessarily deserved. So the way I was doing that is I was publishing all these ridiculous scoring systems for using sponsor prizes, and I stopped focusing on the real stuff that was going on in terms of what was being made and what was noteworthy in the community versus who was winning what. I thought that by picking all of the sponsors who were giving out prizes and attributing MLH points to those, that it would be, those were the best hacks that deserved those points, and those were the reason that they were getting the points. But the truth is the sponsor prizes were not necessarily as reliable, and it actually ended up being a really negative system that prevented me from being able to publish the results, which is unfortunate, but lesson learned. So flash forward, we're now working on the spring season. Right now I've announced, oh gosh, okay, so we had MHacks, we had Hack Tech, we had Boilermake, PennApps, Hack Princeton, HackNY, BitCamp, and LA Hacks have all been announced as official events of the season. Going back to the old scoring algorithms, we're going to use the top 10 teams from each event to determine the winners. I still owe everybody rankings from MHacks and Hack Tech, and I'll get to that in a second. But some new stuff that I'm working on that, in addition to that, the first one is the medals. So we talked a little bit today about prizes and why these giant monetary prizes are bad for hackathons. And I wanted to come up with a special way to reward the people who were winning these events. Specifically, I wanted to come up with some kind of thing that I could give them that wasn't necessarily a money prize, but it had a lot of intrinsic value. So I had these medals made. Every single event in the season gets medals for every member of the top 3 teams. They have first, second, third, and then the event's name on the ribbon. I think this is really awesome. This is an example of a prize that you guys can kind of work on too, and I'm happy to actually make these for the other events as well in the room. I need to work a little bit on the funding for that, but it would be amazing if every single one of our events could give out these medals. This is an example of a prize that I think brings a lot of value to your events in terms of the winners will walk away with something special that they can have forever. And it's not something that's overblown and monetarily motivated. It's not like a giant cash prize that they're going to blow on something that might detract value. Another thing that I've been working on is the new trophy. I didn't get to unveil it at MHAX, which is unfortunate, but it actually is pretty sick. I showed it up at Hack Tech. It has all kinds of really cool stuff. There's actually a space for a fog machine, which I have not hooked up yet, but I promise one day I will do it.
4 feet tall.
It actually comes to my waist. I kind of wanted to bring it to this morning, but my better judgment said no. So this is going to be a more permanent trophy. We can see it with the lights off too. It's pretty cool. So this is going to be a more permanent trophy. It's going to be called the Hacker Cup. The idea is that the people or the team that wins this season is going to have the right to engrave their school's name and the year that they won the trophy on the base, and then keep it until it's awarded at the next season. We're just going to continue doing that for a while and see how that works out. Like I said, I kind of want to bring it out and show you guys in person so you can get a real feel for how big and awesome it is. But the truth is that this is another one of those examples of something that we can do to reward the people who are doing awesome stuff in our community. You've heard a lot of talks from people who are like really working hard on getting their school up and into the hacker scene and providing value to those students. And this is another way that we can help motivate them. If getting a group of kids together to go hack and earn MLH points and get to put their name on the trophy, motivates your community to be awesome, then that's what my goal is here with this. So some of you guys, I've had a lot of people approach me about this already, but I kind of saw some of these inefficiencies that we've been discussing around the cost of sponsoring events, API companies who are sending great evangelists not being able to come, the number of events rising and having to vet hackathons to figure out which ones were they could put into their budgets or whatever. And I also saw that a lot of the hackathon budgets, like a huge chunk of them, is for travel reimbursements. So I saw an opportunity here to approach events and say, hey, I can provide you with a bunch of really high quality API companies that will bring evangelists like John and Rob or Randall from 10gen to your event. The kind of people who are going to come and bring real value in terms of doing technical demos, being there to help people at 3 in the morning when they're stuck on a bug, those kind of people to your events. And I can also provide buses full of students to your events too. So I went to each of these companies and I said, hey, instead of dealing with all of these individual events and having to worry about finding great events to go to, sponsor the entire season. And I'm going to use your money to pay for students from schools who can't necessarily get to these events to get there. So right now I've onboarded these companies that you can see up here. They make up the API tier. We've already done MHAX and Hack Tech. We're both a part of this. Boilermake next week and PennApps will also be a part of it. Followed by McHacks, and then I think Hack Princeton, Hack RU, Hack PSU, and LA Hacks, and Bitcamp. But the idea here is that I saw an opportunity to do something really interesting by combining our resources. I think that we can find more initiatives like this that we can all work on together that's going to help everybody. And we can make this work. We just have to kind of be creative and figure out ways that we can combine our forces, because it's a lot more powerful when you have 10 events who are working towards the same thing than you are when you have a bunch of individual ones. So the code of conduct got mentioned earlier. I really dropped the ball on this one. Major League Hacking actually wrote a code of conduct back, it was before the spring season was announced. And I never really followed through in terms of every event is supposed to adopt this code of conduct. I actually have it in another section which we can kind of pull up and read. But if you go to the Major League Hacking website and you click on About, and there's a section for code of conduct that has this up here. This is a pretty free-form code of conduct, meaning a lot of the decision-making power is left in the hands of the organizer. Really what it asks is that every single attendee keep in mind that hackers are a diverse group of people, right? We all come from different backgrounds, we have different values, and we have different ideas of what's okay and what's not okay. And I think putting together a code of conduct is a really powerful thing in terms of making people aware that it's there. We need to do a better job as events of making these things public and making sure all of the attendees at our events know that they're there. I also think that we need to leave a lot of the decision-making power in the hands of the organizers, and we have to trust you guys to be mature. It's really hard to do, it's a huge responsibility, but we need to learn to trust you guys and your judgment But making sure that you get your attendees to be aware that there is some kind of code of conduct and that you hold them to some kind of value is a huge step forward in the right direction. Let's go back in here. So code of conduct, we talked about. The events calendar. So we also talked about that unofficial spreadsheet that was going around that was complete chaos, but awesome because it had all of the dates for all the hackathons. I'd like to see a world where we're discussing which dates the hackathons are going to happen during the season before. It would be great if we could all sit down, like some of the larger events in particular could sit down this weekend and start talking about what they're looking at in terms of dates. It doesn't need to be a battle for dates. We can work together again here to figure out a way that all of us can find out the best times to throw things. I started putting together a public-facing events calendar on MLH. So this is like a list of all of the student hackathons that I've seen public websites for. Basically, if you want to be listed on this website, MLH, and you click on schedule, it has all of them up there. All you have to do is send me a link to your website, a 100 by 100 pixel logo, and a splash image to put up as well. I want this to be the resource, the place that students go to find out about our events. We have the ability to do that. And putting it all in one place is going to help all of us and getting everybody to go and look there. I think this is a really good way to do that. I think that we can also come up with some kind of tooling for non-public dates yet, because I know that's also a problem. But if we're aware of when the events are happening and all of us can see that, that would definitely help. One of the takeaways I kind of want to have from this conference is I'd like to put together a mailing list of all of us. A mailing list that we can all respond to and talk, and so we can all reach out to each other for resources and for things like this, like scheduling events. Escrow service. So we also kind of talked about this a little bit. Somebody mentioned that I'd helped Hack Tech with their financials. So I went to Rutgers when I never really directly organized HackRU until I graduated, but I've been lending a hand with that for quite some time. We have a problem where our university doesn't let us spend money on things that we want to. I know there's a number of other universities in the community who've had problems with this, and I wanted to find a way to help. And the opportunity came up with Hack Tech because they didn't really have a good way to manage their finances. They didn't have a bank account. They didn't have some kind of nonprofit that they could use to, register and take money and whatever and sign contracts and things like that. So what we worked out is that I would create an escrow service for them. So instead of companies cutting checks to Hack Tech, whatever their event, they would instead cut them to Major League Hacking, and then I would keep a running tally of how much money they had. And then when they needed checks cut for t-shirts, for paying vendors, for Wi-Fi, for food, whatever, I would cut the checks on their behalf or pay the credit card bills as they came in. In my head, it was a lot simpler. It was just pretty much like point and click. Towards the end, it ended up being a lot more hands-on than I anticipated, but I think it actually opened up a really even more interesting opportunity. I helped coordinate a lot of the logistics around Wi-Fi and food and stuff like that. I think there's definitely some opportunity there for Major League Hacking to lend a hand. I'm just really not sure what it looks like. I know there's a couple of other events in the room who are waiting on me for escrow information stuff, but I'm definitely considering expanding that program, considering the success it had, and figuring out a way to make it so that it doesn't require me to be at every single event all the time with the credit card. So we're working on that, but that's something to be aware of. Root TV. So this is awesome. This is something I'm actually working on with John, who just ran out of the room, of course. But there's a lot of really interesting stuff that happens at these events that I'm really excited about. John and I have been trying to capture a lot of what's going on film for a while, and we finally upgraded our equipment to the point where it's actually pretty good. So I want to show you guys a sneak peek of what we've been working on. Let me pull it up here. I'm not going to show this whole thing, but this should give you an idea. So. This is Mike Sweat reporting live from the floor of the Expo Hall at MHacks. We got some crazy hacks here. We're gonna go walk around and talk to some awesome people. So I'm up here with one of the teams that built a really awesome hack. I'm hacks the Nerf chart.
All the communication is done over WebSockets and Redis pub subbing. It starts on the client, so you just open this up in your web browser. Then the video is displayed using Flash. So it's sent from the Nerf gun Sentry client.
So you guys can kind of get a feel for what we're working with here. But basically, we walked around with a camera, interviewed hackers, and took some B-roll footage of the events, and we turned it into these really awesome interviews where we actually asked them all about their hacks and how they work. And it's consumable in a 2 to 5 minute little clip, which is great. And so now we're working on converting 40 interviews from MHacks into a whole set of content that any hacker anywhere in the world can look at and find out what happened and what kind of things that got built. Which I think I'm really excited about. And I think we can do that for a lot of our hackathons, and all the stuff that's getting built, we can help present in a new way. So I think that's most of that. So there's one thing I learned out of all of this, right? So I've been working on all these different initiatives. I had the fall season, I've got the spring season. The big lesson that I learned is that I'm the bottleneck. Really, like how many people in this room are waiting on me for something? Because I know there's a lot of you. Yeah. I need to get better about delegating. I need to get better about finding other people to help me work on these things. I know that, and it's a problem that I'm working on solving. I may be a little slow to do it, but I promise it's in the works. And I promise that anybody who I definitely owe communication, I know I owe you communication, and I will get to it this week when I'm not organizing a conference.